Good. Good morning. Good morning. We're about to begin our program this morning, and before I hand it over to our MC, John Thomas Kobos, we're going to open up with a pre-opening video selection. So please enjoy, and then John Thomas will start us off.
I support Scouting because it's probably the best program that I know that helps develop young people and makes them great leaders, leaders of integrity, leaders with great character. It develops, obviously, all those skills, including how to work in a team, how to work together, and really how to set goals and achieve them. And Scouting for me has been a lifelong journey. And I can tell you that I continue to support Scouting today because it's had a tremendous impact on my personal life. And it's an opportunity now for me to give back in a big way to a program that helped develop me as a leader.
Well, you know, one of the main things that Scouting teaches young people is leadership. And I feel like that the education I had and the experiences I had through Boy Scouts and also through the 67 years that I've been involved in Scouting has made me a better leader, and as a result I've been able to assume leadership roles not only
practice in law.
That it provides.
And I attribute a lot of that leadership and leadership skills to my experiences in the Boy Scouts.
AAP Texas has been a proud supporter for a number of years, and frankly one of the reasons is that it provides essential skills that are timeless for today's youth, right? Those practical skills that are so important in terms of leadership and being able to contribute to the communities. So many leaders, even within our organization, have gone through the South Texas Council of Boy Scouts of America.
The one thing I can tell you, being a public official as well as in private practice in law, when you deal with scouts and you've gone through Scouting, you already have an integrity check. You're already ahead. The training, the moral compass is trained so well that you know the character of the individual is in an accelerating #1 position. I always tell everybody that I go all over the state of Texas. If you've been in Scouting, especially if you reach Eagle Scout, it opens all doors because it's almost just a welcome mat for accomplishment. So Scouting is a positive way of setting an example on the way life should be.
My name is Carlos, and I'm a Cub Scout. I'm here to talk to you today about becoming a scout like me. Who here knows what Cub Scouts do? Well, since this is a video, I'm just going to tell you what they do, and let's see if you're right. Cub Scouts get badges for doing fun activities, and we make friends. Scouts go camping, climbing, and fishing, and swimming together. We have fun. We play sports and go to parades. Scouts also help people and become the best versions of themselves. Scouts can become future leaders. In fact, some Scouts have even made history. Did you know that some of our former presidents, astronauts, award-winning scientists, and actors were Scouts when they were your age? Here's an example of something Cub Scouts get to do each year. Wait for it. We use our skills to make rockets, and then we fly them. So, who wants to become a Scout? Okay, this is still a video, so I'm gonna need you to let me know a different way. If you want to join, click the link below. You'll be able to find a pack near you, get any questions answered, and sign up for Cub Scouts Online. Make sure you have an adult to help you with that part though. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I hope to see you again soon as a Cub Scout like me.
Okay, let's give it up. Hello, everybody. I'm John Thomas Kobos with KIII. I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies. I believe this is my third year to be part of this and taking part in a hybrid, if you will, of being live here at the Ortiz Center and those watching virtually at home. So thank you for joining us this morning and giving up your early morning routine for us. First of all, let me be the first to thank you for all your support, because without it, over 1,500 Scouts here in this council would not have the opportunities that they do today. And with that said, we want to welcome everybody to the 2021 Annual Friends of Scouting Breakfast event. It's so great to see so many Friends of Scouting that are here this morning for the 13th Annual Friends of Scouting Breakfast in Corpus Christi. And we do have a reminder for all our table hosts and table sponsors. Please be sure to list all of your guests on the outside of the packet on your table so that we can have a record of everybody's attendance this morning. This year, as I said, we are live streaming, something that we have become accustomed to through work, reaching out to our colleagues and to clients, conducting business online. And for those of you at home that are watching this morning, thank you. Hopefully you have a bowl of Cheerios or a warm breakfast from Whataburger keeping you company. Please stand as Scouts from Troop 6 lead us in the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard, attention. Color guard for march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, present colors. Scout salute. May everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, post the colors. Color guard, reform. Color guard, return to post. Color guard, halt. Color guard, at ease.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Venture Scout Isabella Sepulveda from Crew 162 to lead us in prayer.
Will everyone please join me in prayer? Lord, we thank you for this day. Help us to do our best every day and forgive us when we slip. Teach us to be kind to other people and to help them at all times. Bless our parents and teachers and leaders and all members of Scouting. Bless us, Lord, in your love for us. Help us to be better Scouts and let us do our best for you. Amen.
Thank you, Isabella. At this time, I would like to introduce Gabe Guerra, President of Claiborne Bank and South Texas Council Board President, to give us some opening remarks.
Good morning. It is excellent. It is great to see all of you smiling faces here this morning. I was talking to John Jackson. John said, I forgot they were building a building next door here this morning. It's great to be out and about. Normally this room is packed to the brim, but we are still packed this morning, and we've got people online watching us. As president of the local board of directors, the South Texas Council Boy Scouts of America, I'd like to welcome you here today to this annual Friends of Scouting breakfast. It was over a year ago that many of us were faced, or all of us were faced, with this fast-moving health pandemic we call COVID-19. It challenged the resiliency of our country's economy, and it's challenged organizations like the local Boy Scouts of America Council here in Corpus Christi and throughout South Texas. We have survived. I have often said to my fellow board members and colleagues that we need a COVID merit badge. It was a little bit like wilderness survival, and it's certainly been a challenging year. But I'd personally like to thank Marty Sepulveda, our CEO. Where's Marty, if you'll wave? Marty, please stand and be recognized. He's back over there. Marty, you and your team, his team, please stand and be recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been one tough year, but we have survived, and we continue to serve local youth in our community, and we do it with the same vision that we've had yesterday. I'd like to start this morning. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize those who have helped put to this morning's breakfast together. When I call your name, if you'll all stand and if you'll hold your claps for afterwards, these leaders helped put this breakfast meeting together. Billy Trott, Craig Ansel, Tommy Kurtz, Julio Reyes, Don Kingsbury, Andy Corbett, and Louis Sepulveda. Please stand and be recognized. I'd also like the local board members who are here with us today, the Boy Scouts of America Council, to stand and be recognized. If you're a board member of the local council, Boy Scouts of America, please stand and recognize these men and women that are here today. I want to personally thank our board. When we started last year, we huddled and talked, and we made cuts, and we focused, and we worked, and I say we, board, the volunteers, our leadership through Marty and his staff, to survive what was one of our most challenging years. And I stand here this morning as a product of Boy Scouts, as a young man who is here today serving that same mission, vision, and dream to prepare young people to make ethical and moral decisions over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. And it's in your program this morning, but I'll just mention it. The first few words of the Scout Law: on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country. In taking the first three words of our Scout Law, a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, and helpful. Without the trust of an organization and the interdependence of what it takes to move forward and forge ahead through difficult circumstances, I can tell you it could not be done without the volunteers and the board and a great staff and leader to the Boy Scouts. This program is extremely important to our council. I'd like to welcome and thank you today. Beau, I'd like to welcome you, our guest, who'll be introduced here shortly. But I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate the opportunity that we have to get in front of you and to share with you this great program. Again, thank you for being here. We appreciate you, and God bless America.
We would also like to thank the this year's Friends of Scouting committee members. Oh, Gabe, actually, I'm sorry, you got through that. I'm going through the line here. Okay, we want to thank all the breakfast sponsors this morning. We want to get through that list. So first, another important group in advancing scouting is our 1919 Society sponsors. They are on the screens right now. We also have our program level sponsors, which you'll find listed in your program. There are a couple slides for those, so we want to make sure we get through those, that everybody has a chance to see who made this possible. We would also like to thank our meal sponsor, the Port of Corpus Christi and Moda Midstream. We would also like to thank this year's mug sponsors, AAP Texas and Steel Dynamics. The mugs are a thank you for your support today, so feel free to take them home at the end of breakfast. We would also like to recognize the title sponsor for this year's event, the Buddy Heron Legacy Foundation. The foundation has been a sponsor, breakfast sponsor for 7 years now. Nova Heron with the foundation was not able to be with us, but we do have a video, a message from her to share with you this morning.
My name is Nova Heron, and my husband and I, Buddy, we've been supporting the Boy Scouts for many, many years. And just to give you a little bit of background before we get to that point, my husband and I never did have we didn't have any boys, we had girls, 2 girls. So we did not have a Boy Scout in our family. But our connection came up when we hired someone named Louis Sepulveda in our business as manager. And he is at the front desk, and he is talking to our customers and vendors all the time, and always very honest, the integrity, getting along with people, and found out that he was an Eagle Scout and started when he was 8 years old. So at the time we had the business, he'd already worked for us for almost 30 years. He is actually still there working. So I just always had this connection too, whenever I would notice when he would have vacations, and it really made it very interesting to me that he would always be out with the Scouts. He'd take them out to, different states, Colorado, they'd do their camping. And so he was always had this interest in teaching these children that would grow up and be like him. They are all interested too in being in scouting for years, even as parents. And I feel like, getting all of that in these, teaching these children as they grow up, all these different integrity and honesty, and learning how to use their own skills to, get along through life. And at some point, we may all be where we need that help. And so my situation now, I have the Buddy Heron Legacy Foundation, and so I've helped keep going through with my donations, and I will always support the Boy Scouts because it is such an awesome organization and helping the children as they grow up, and I will just always be there for you. And I appreciate you asking me to help out today.
Another group worthy of being honored and recognized this morning is the newly established Macgyver Furman Legacy Society members. The Legacy Society honors the name of the first Eagle Scout in South Texas. That's Dr. Ivor Furman. Dr. Furman was influential in the founding and development of Driscoll Children's Hospital and was the mayor of Corpus Christi. Furman Legacy Society members have committed to supporting the South Texas Council with a gift of $15,000 or more, payable over 3 years. Would those society members in attendance please stand and be recognized this morning? Please help me in recognizing the Furman Legacy Society in attendance with us this morning. And we'd like to thank all those elected officials for their service. If there are any elected officials here in the house today, please stand and be recognized as well. Next, we have another short video to show you to help us thank you for your supporting local scouting.
Hello, my name is Mary Claire, and I'm a scout leader from the South Texas Council. The South Texas Council would like to thank all the donors for their support. Our mission is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices throughout their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and law. The South Texas Council offers leadership and character development, outdoor programs, team building activities, and more for ages 7 to 20. Scouts in the South Texas Council have given back to their local communities, learned life skills, interacted with scouts from across the world, and attended leadership seminars and countless other events. While the COVID-19 pandemic prevented scouts from attending camp together, going to scout meetings in person, and other in-person events, that did not stop our mission. We continue to shape young people by offering virtual events for all ages, and we continue to offer safe options for all scouts. Scouting in South Texas continues to thrive, and we plan to keep going strong in creating leaders of tomorrow.
We also have another video from Scouts, a testimonial on what it's like to be scouting here in South Texas.
Well, I like the adventures and how to learn how to be a scout. I like the racing. Me and my dad did my car design. It was the engine of a bullet train. It went fast. I won first place in a lot of races. I am the future of scouting.
What I like about scouting is we get to socialize and we get to help other people and volunteer ourselves, and it's just really fun to do all of it.
What I like about scouting is like helping out the community and just playing with your friends, doing different activities, and just whoever created this, it's like going so well because we can meet different people.
What I like about scouting is that it's given me so many experiences I never would have experienced through school or even outside of school if I wasn't in Scouts. I've learned how to advance my communication and public speaking skills, and I've learned so much more about the outdoors.
I like being a scout because it's good to hang out with some friends. It's a good way to learn knots for your future age, like if you get in a certain situation. And I like going on campouts. I like sometimes fishing with my dad, going hiking. What I like about scouting is you get to go on fun camping trips. You get your knife choking ship. You learn how to shoot bow and arrows too.
At this time, I'd like to bring up Craig Ansel on a message on why we need your support.
Dependability. What does that mean? As I look around this room and I think about all the folks that I know here and the folks that are watching virtually that have been involved with scouting, they represent dependability to me. Dependability, somebody that you can call on, you'll know they will be there. No matter what your need is, they'll answer the call. They will participate, they will support you, they'll be behind you. Sometimes they'll show up even without being asked because they see a need. The common thread that I see in the folks in this room, the people who are watching virtually, the people that I've interacted with, is they've often had a connection to scouting. They may have been in scouting as a youth. They may have been a scout volunteer leader. They may have been a board member, but they see the value that you've heard from the other speakers and on the videos this morning about what scouting gives to the community. And I think it's one of the very few institutions in our world that really emphasizes that importance of being dependable, to participate, to be involved, to make a difference, to make the world a better place. Why is that? Well, look at that card on your table. Gabe mentioned it, the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. If you've been in scouting, at every meeting, you recite that Scout Oath and Scout Law at the beginning of every meeting. It becomes part of your life. When you say "on my honor," that means something. When you recite the Scout Law and say a scout is trustworthy and all the other 12 points, it becomes part of your life. So a lot of times we're asked to contribute to really valuable activities in our community. And there's lots of valid approaches and places to spend your money. They're all good. They do good things in the community. But I think there's a real distinction between contributing to scouting and some of the other valid causes that are out there. A lot of the contributions that we make are to solve problems, to help feed the hungry, to house the people who are homeless, to deal with people who have addictions or other problems. All of those are valid and important considerations. But scouting helps keep those problems from happening in the first place. It builds character, it
strengthens people's values. It shows how people can be involved in their community from a community standpoint to solve some of those problems before they become real problems for our society. So what does that mean? If you're here this morning or if you're watching virtually, you have an opportunity to help Scouting continue this. Over 100 years of Scouting in America and over 100 years in South Texas. But like all other activities, it takes money to make that work. So what I'm going to ask you today, whether you're virtually at home or if you're here in person, is to consider making a contribution to support the Scouting effort. Now I'm going to put out a challenge to you, and I'm going to do it this way. I think most of us, if we go to the store or we're shopping online or just considering buying something, we have a certain amount that we have as what we'll call impulse buying. If it's less than X amount, sure, I'll spend that money to do that. I don't know what your number is, everybody's different. But I'm going to challenge you today, and just to make the math easy, whatever that discretionary amount is, multiply it by 10 and make that your contribution. That's 10 months worth of discretionary impulse purchases. You can probably deal with that. Still gives you 2 more months that you could do and do what you want to. But think about the difference that would make for Scouting in this community. Scouting's been under a lot of challenges that you've heard about in the media, and those challenges are continuing. They're continuing nationwide, and they're continuing here locally. But Scouting is a local activity. The local support we give to Scouting stays local and participates and helps our youth here. So I'd like to, again, like the other speakers, thank you for being here today. I'd like to encourage you to contribute. There's an envelope on your table with pledge cards. If you would like to make a contribution, please get one of those from your table host, fill that out, put your contribution pledge card back in the envelope. You can put a check in there, you can make a pledge, you can put a credit card number down. If you're watching virtually, there's a way to contribute. There'll be a text number that you can text in your support. And if you're watching this after our live event, you can go online to the local council's website and make a donation to Friends of Scouting. However you do it, whether you make a pledge or make a cash contribution or check today, we want to thank you for your support because it really makes a huge difference. Thank you for being here today, and we very much appreciate your support.
Thank you, Craig. And now at this time, we'd like to ask Tommy Kurtz to come up and introduce our guest speaker today.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the abbreviated COVID Friends of Scouting 2021. It has been a challenge. I serve as vice chair of the South Texas Council and was co-chair this year with Julio Reyes with AEP. It's my honor, especially we're here at Ortiz Center in the middle of all this industry, jobs, and investment, which is what I do for a living, to have Beau Mccall, President and CEO of Moda Midstream, a major economic presence, which he's going to talk about in a second here in our region, Corpus Christi and the Coastal Bend. Beau has been in the midstream business for 30 plus years. So Beau know midstream, I guess. So he was named CEO of Moda Midstream in 2018. He served for approximately 3 years as Executive Vice President of Commercial and Business Development before co-founding Moda. He served as Senior Vice President of Commercial and Business Development for Oil Tanking North America and started there in 2003 as a member of the commercial group. He was named Vice President of Marketing and Sales in 2007 and promoted to Senior Vice President in 2013. Beau's many accomplishments at OTNA include negotiating and closing a 50-year, $4 billion LPG contract with Enterprise Products. He also developed and executed a crude oil strategy for oil tanking Houston, OT Houston, adding 13 million barrels in tankage and led the development of a 4.2 million barrel crude project at OTNA in Beaumont. He played a key role in the team that led to the IPO in 2011 of Oil Tanking Partners, which is on the New York Stock Exchange. Prior to OTNA, Beau worked for Conoco's Liquid Pipeline and Transportation Group and Conoco's Natural Gas and Gas Processing Group. He left Conoco in 1996 and worked for several smaller energy companies in a management capacity. So many years in the midstream business. Beau is a 1987 graduate of the University of Oklahoma, but we're not going to hold that against you with all the Aggies and Longhorns here in the audience this morning, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Petroleum Engineer. Beau and his wife, which I found out is from Louisiana, where I'm from originally, Amanda, have two children. So without further ado, Beau Mccall of Moda Midstream.
Well, good morning. For what it's worth, my daughter goes to A&M, so maybe that gets me off the hook. So anyway, it's a pleasure to be here this morning. It's a real privilege to address everybody here in person and online. When I told my wife I was going to be doing a presentation for Boy Scouts, she's like, "You were in Boy Scouts?" I was like, "Heck yeah." Back in Oklahoma City, I was in PAC 109th Street, Webelos and Cub Scouts. And unfortunately, when I look back on my life and kind of see the impact that scouting has made on a lot of my colleagues and people I've come across, I wish I would have stuck with it. And then also at the same time, she says, "Well, are you going to get your old Boy Scout uniform on and wear it when you present?" I was like, "I really appreciate you giving me that credit." I said, "I'm going to be lucky to fit in my work clothes after COVID, but needless to say, I'm glad to be here." When I was preparing for the talk this morning, I really wanted to kind of get an idea of some of the key messages and thoughts to be able to kind of present and represent scouting and the impacts of people's lives. I mean, I had a colleague that I used to work with at Oil Tanking North America. His name's Jim Skeppins, and he was an Eagle Scout, and his son likewise was an Eagle Scout. I called up Jim. I said, "Jim, I'm going to do a presentation about Boy Scouts." I said, "I just want to kind of pick your brain and kind of see what I should talk about." He said, "I have one word for you." He says, "Leadership." He said, the misconceptions about Boy Scouts is really the outdoors and all the things that most people associate with it. He said, really, in my life, he says, it developed essentially being prepared for life and being the leader that I've become, and likewise for my son as well. So I think when I look back and kind of see the impact he's made on people's lives, the impact I've tried to make on people's lives, I see in this crazy society in which we live in, all the scouting law and all the things associated with scouting that is so important is so unimportant for most people today. And I see the lack of guidance, morality, and people that are just kind of lost looking for, the right approach to take in life. So I think, all the benefits that scouting brings is something that I, from this day forward, will continue to support. And, as I've got a daughter that's at A&M, she's going to be 21, going off to the workforce. My son, who is a senior in high school in Kingwood, I'm trying to encourage him to go to OU versus A&M. But I was having a conversation with my daughter last week, and not to get too emotional, but my daughter had a pretty tough high school experience. She was in swimming. She was a varsity swimmer. She swam 4 or 5 hours a day. She had a real bad experience with some bullying from girls. Our house flooded during Harvey. I mean, I think the COVID deal has taken away 1.5 years of her college life. And through all these difficult times that she's experienced, I've always said, just keep doing the right thing. I mean, it's so easy to do the wrong thing and all the things that kind of pull kids and people in a different direction. It's so much easier to go down that path. And I said, just keep doing the right thing and it's eventually going to pay off. And the last couple of years, she's had summer internships, and then recently, this past week, she got a job with BMW, and she wants to be in the autonomous and electric vehicle world, which is kind of difficult for me, being in the energy business, to say, okay, you go down your path, I went down my path. But regardless, as we were having a conversation about choosing the job with BMW, she kind of went back and said, "Dad, you told me always to do the right thing. It's always going to pay off." Says all those years that I was doing the right thing, it was difficult because I was missing out. I was bullied. I was this and that. I said, but finally, I'm realizing the fruits of my labor. And as I kind of look back on people that are trying to do the right thing, a lot of people that do the right thing never get that validation or the acknowledgement of doing the right thing is the right way. I think that's something that I've kind of learned, and you have to learn it yourself to be able to go out and do the right thing and the impact it makes on other people's lives, more importantly yourself, giving yourself the confidence to be a leader and a successful person in life to produce in the job front and in life and in your family, etc. So with all that being said, I'll go ahead and start off with my presentation and give you a little bit of background about Moda Midstream. A lot of people don't know who Moda Midstream is, other than we're the people that are building tanks at the old naval base in Ingleside. We are a Texas-based energy company. We specialize in transportation and terminaling, specifically blue water terminaling. When you kind of think about all the benefits that we have here in the coastal bend, bottom line is today, when you look at our facility in Ingleside, we receive crude that's coming in, American-produced crude from the Permian and the Eagle Ford. They come in on pipelines into the coast, into our facility, where we store it in tanks and load it on big vessels. And I think when we kind of go through the presentation, you'll see the real benefit that we enjoy here in the coastal bend. The senior leadership at Moda has more than 100 years of experience. Several of the folks that I work with have worked with each other for more than 20 years. So having the common bonds and the understanding of how to work with each other. We have facilities at our old company, at oil tanking in Corpus Christi, Houston, Texas City, Beaumont, Port Arthur, St. James, and also in Joliet. As Tommy mentioned, prior to Moda at oil tanking, myself and a couple of my colleagues went out on the IPO at oil tanking and formed that in 2011. And then consequently, we sold out to Enterprise in 2014. Next slide, please. So what does a terminaling company do? As I kind of said, typically specific to the Ingleside facility, we're receiving crude oil off the pipelines, and we're also developing LPG exports. In our Houston facility, we are having essentially bringing feedstocks in to supply the feedstocks via pipeline to the processing plants. And really it's in the deep industrial segments where these terminaling companies kind of work. We do focus on a customer-centric approach. And when I look back on my career and essentially differentiating myself and our company of having a relationship with customers, it really gets down to the trust and being trustworthy with customers. I think once you establish that trust with customers, it engenders loyalty. When we started out our facility in Ingleside, it was owned by Oxy prior to. I announced that we were in the process of buying it, talked to some of my customers in the past. They're like, we're gonna sign up with you guys because you treated us the right way and we trust you and we know you're gonna be a good custodian of our product. And we were able to go ahead and build out our facility. Again, I think in terms of what we do, independence, liquidity, providing market access for our customers, fee for service. We use words like flow assurance, superior netbacks, liquidity, and operational flexibility. It might not mean a lot to you folks, but I think in terms of really realizing the importance of energy to Texas and the United States is kind of lost today. It still is the foundation of fabric that's going to be with us. I know we're going to be going through an energy transition, but today we're providing service for our customers and those employees that produce oil and gas in the state of Texas. Beyond exercising, terminaling, we're creating new jobs for team members. We deployed over $500 million on the Ingleside location, building out assets. At one point, we had over 600 contractors out there. We were constructing tanks, pipelines, dock infrastructure for the past 2 or 3 years. Made a significant investment. And then likewise, from a community outreach, we really have focused on trying to be a good neighbor. Use words like courteous and friendly. We try to employ those things that are part of the scouting law to essentially reach out to our community and be a good neighbor. So next slide, please. So today, when we look at Moda, when we started Moda in 2015 and having a big footprint at oil tanking, if you would have told me that we would have an asset in Corpus, Houston, and St. James, which are primarily key liquidity markets for crude oil in the United States, I would have said it would have been a tremendous success, and here we are today. And it really is from the team that we have. So when you look at our assets today, we do have our Ingleside facility. We also have tankage at Taft. We are a minority interest owner in the Cactus II pipeline that Plains All Americans operates. We also operate our Viola pipeline. In Houston, we have a JV with Beau Mccall. And again, it's not necessarily crude oil, it's chemical feedstocks and LPGs that we're focused on today. And we'll continue to grow that out. And then likewise, we have a JV in the St. James market where we're focused on crude oil development, LPGs, and olefins as well. Next slide. So you talk about the transformation from a Navy base to a terminal, and I think one of the things that we realized early on, all the the foundation and things that made a Navy base important when you look at a protected harbor, the ability to handle big boats, and then likewise projecting out your naval power. Those things are associated as well. So having a protected harbor to operate is a good thing. Being able to bring in big boats, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is an important thing in terminaling. And then likewise, projecting our national power. And when you kind of take a look and see what really is an economic power that we have today is our energy. When you think about a few years ago, we became essentially self-sufficient on our energy needs, not relying upon the Middle East or Russia or Mexico or Venezuela to provide us oil. And the benefit of being energy independent really transforms, I think, national security, energy independence, and all the things that I think are important, which I think today, or in the political view, is being questioned. But I'm still very proud of the things we've accomplished as an industry. So when you look back on the Navy base at Ingleside, we have a picture, a photo of the naval base that housed, I think, approximately 4,500 people. It was a phenomenal base. I actually have friends that were stationed down there, and they said it was probably one of the best places you could be stationed in the Navy. So as we were tearing down all the facilities to build tanks, I felt kind of bad. But at the same time, I think it really is bringing economic benefit and bringing commerce into the coastal bend. In 2012, it was acquired by Oxy. The first thing that Oxy did was they developed LPG infrastructure. And then after the crude export ban was lifted in 2015, Oxy decided to start exporting crude oil. We purchased the facility from Oxy in 2018. There's approximately 2 million barrels that they constructed. And since then, from September 2018 to actually just this last month, we've commissioned a total of 15.5 million barrels of tanks, including the 2 million. So we've done a phenomenal thing. The VLCC loading that we started out in 2018, or right around Christmas 2018, is really a phenomenon that really differentiates our facility and Ingleside compared to the rest of the terminals in the U.S. Gulf Coast. And when you kind of take a look at the Port of Houston, Port of Port Neches, Port of Louisiana, a lot of these vessels have to traverse up a very narrow channel. And given the fact that we're at the mouth of the entrance of the Corpus Channel, we're able to bring in vessels that they call VLCCs. There's different grades of vessels that are common to crude oil and product movement. There are Panamax that will handle about 300,000 barrels. The next class is Aframax, will handle 500,000 to 700,000 barrels. The next class is Suezmax, can handle about 800 to 1 million barrels. And then the VLCCs is really what makes the big trans-Pacific movement. You can have over 2 million barrels on there. So today, given the fact we're close to the jetties and we have the ability to bring these VLCCs in, is really the only place in the United States that we can do it. And given the fact that we have so much U.S. oil that is going to Asia Pacific on VLCCs, today at our 45-foot draft, we can load a VLCC to about 1.2, 1.3 million barrels. When the channel improvement project is complete, hopefully this time next year, and we have 52 feet of draft, we'll be able to load a VLCC to about 1.5, 1.6 million barrels. So that VLCC will depart our dock, go out, and then they'll transload another smaller vessel in to complete the cargo, and it'll go off to Asian Pacific kind of area for processing in those areas. Next slide. Again, as I kind of mentioned, the transit of these vessels and the amount of oil that's leaving the Texas Gulf Coast into these areas. The two primary areas are Europe and also Asia, and these bar charts are kind of hard to see, but primarily the long haul that goes around the tip of Africa is going into Asia. Those are going to be loaded on VLCCs. And then the blue area in Europe, a lot of the vessels are going to be going over, are going to be on Aframax. So today, when you kind of take a look at our 2019 and our 2020 volumes, in 2019, we loaded 125 million barrels of crude oil. And this past year, through a pandemic, we loaded 264 million barrels of crude oil, which is pretty amazing. And you can kind of see on the bar charts, loading 63 VLCCs and Suezmax, and the rest being Afra, really the trade concentration and the desire to get to these larger vessels to get to these foreign markets is important. I am proud to say, not for myself, but for the MOTA team, we are the #1 export facility in the United States. We continue to invest in the facility. And again, I think once we get the 54-foot in the Ingleside and in the Port of Corpus Christi, we'll continue to grow and expand and hold that #1 spot in the U.S. Next slide, please. Again, a little bit of chest pounding here. Exports by market kind of give you an idea of the U.S. Gulf Coast. I think on a run rate basis, more than 50% of crude oil that's exported out of the United States comes out of the Corpus Ingleside area. And you can kind of see today, the MOTA market share is going to maintain about 30% of that throughout the U.S. And in the Corpus market, we're about 50% or more. So I think that's good for us. That's good for the Texas economy. It's good for the Texas oil business. It's good for the Port of Corpus Christi. And we're very proud to operate the facility safely, efficiently, and being a good neighbor. Next slide. This is interesting when I take a look back at my career, and as Tommy said, 30-something years. I can't believe I've been doing it this long. But when you kind of take a look at the different cycles that we have in the energy business, I think we've all been in the Corpus market, kind of see the ebbs and the flows and the cycles that we experience. And when we experienced oil tanking, it was a shale revolution. Everything was just full speed on the accelerator. We developed the IPO. We had a large LPG presence. We developed so much infrastructure. We spent about $1 billion in a couple of years in the Houston and Beaumont markets developing energy infrastructure. And then consequently, when we did sell, we took about an $800 million enterprise and sold the enterprise for about $6 billion. So we were owned by a German family. They made a lot of money. The people that did all the work here might have made a little bit, but at the same time, the value creation that we saw. And so when we did leave oil tanking, it started 2015. The price of oil in the energy business really kind of took a dive in the first part of 2015, but it really kind of saw as the shale areas maturing in the manufacturing complexes. I think what you see from a manufacturing complex standpoint, from a refining standpoint, is pretty much done. You might see a few more chemical complexes are going to be built given the length that we have for ethane and the natural resource that we have. But at MOTA, we were able to capitalize and continue to build out that infrastructure and benefit from all the things that we had in front of us. And really, it's I say post-COVID is the last slide. 21 moving forward. I think it really focuses on energy transition. Oil and gas is going to be with us for a long time, and I think what our customers are going to need is resilience. They're going to need flexibility. They're going to be able to handle all these difficult times that we see in the market, and all those things that we are going to position ourselves to provide, and probably focus more on cleaner fuels to some of the markets in which we operate. Last slide. Again, I think enough of MOTA and the impact we made in Coastal Bend. I'm very proud of it, but I'm also very proud, again, as I said, to stand up here to you today. And again, as I talked to Jim and I looked up the Cub Scout and Boy Scout laws and the mottos and the slogans, these are things today that in my mind, seem a little cliche to a lot of people. You're being a Boy Scout is kind of a term you've heard in terms of doing the right thing. But there is so much division in our society. I mean, you have political, race, religion, COVID. There's so many people that really have trouble finding the truth. So when I kind of look out and see all the good things that scouting provides our young adults, it is refreshing and encouraging. I always tell my employees, you have one shot of maintaining your integrity. It can be lost in a second. And, when you think about that and building trust, the integrity that you have translates to people you're dealing with. More importantly, it's when you look yourself in the mirror and maintaining that integrity. And I'm proud to say that I've been able to do it my entire career. I'm surrounded by people that are making sure we have contracts that are stacked this high, trying to make sure that one person doesn't get up on the other, or whatever the case may be. My business philosophy is you have a contract to really pull out on a horrible situation and kind of outline how you deal with things. For all intent and purpose, I throw them in the bottom drawer of the desk and operate, from the standpoint of treating our customers as they're the customers. We're always going to find a solution, and we're going to find it the right way. So again, to kind of wrap things up, I think scouting really translates in to being leadership in my job, in the company, in the industry. I think when you kind of take a look at all these things, of building up to an Eagle Scout, going through the ranks and the rank and file and organizations, is doing the right thing eventually will pay off. And again, leadership attributes to learn, translate directly into the business world, help lead shape companies today and the future, goal setting, focus, and persistence to achieve. You know, I had the good fortune one day when I was living in Dallas, I was eating at a Subway, and my wife and I were having a Subway, and I hear a familiar voice, and I look over and it was Ross Perot. And as he was sitting there eating dinner by himself, and he said he goes there every Tuesday, you know, in wherever at Subway. This guy was a multi-billionaire, and he sat and took the time to talk to my wife and I for probably a good 30 minutes, and I found him to be the most interesting guy in the world. As I went back, I kind of looked at his bio, and he was an Eagle Scout. So I think, you know, a lot of the things that, you know, the people that have influenced lives in our country have been through the scouting program, and it's an honor to be here today, and keep up the great work and scouting, and that's all I got to say. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McCall, for your story, for your service, for everything that you've shared with us this morning. Some inspiring words in there. We cannot emphasize enough how much this fundraiser provides amazing opportunities for youth in this council's area and their opportunities to become a scout. So at this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage the South Texas Council Scout Executive and CEO, Marty Sepulveda, for closing remarks.
Thank you, John Thomas. Well, thank you guys and ladies for being here this morning. I do appreciate you very much on behalf of Scouting and the Scouts. As you can see, we had to do a lot of videos this year, just a little bit different, but I think the message is still the same. Our Scouts and our families enjoy the opportunity to learn new skills. And I think we master the leadership skills, Beau, with all of those outdoor camping activities and those campouts and those hikes and those canoe trips, because that's what attracts young people, to have some fun. But along the way, we teach them ranks. Those of us that are Eagle Scouts in the room, we know that. By the time we hit that magic age of high school, we realize, oh, they were teaching me something. Oh, I've got to do something different in my life. And scouting really does make a difference. Before I go on, I do want to thank Beau and Moda Midstream for being our guest speaker. Beau, we have a little gift for you. We'll get that to you here. We've got a centennial coffee book that maybe you guys could place in your terminal office here in Corpus Christi. And not to leave Beau out, we do want to present him with a Scout Me In neckerchief that all of our committee members are wearing. So Beau, thank you so much. So a few more notes. I think you've heard it today from Craig Ansel and from Gabe Guerra, our council president, how you guys in the room are the backbone, and those that gave sponsorships that are not with us. We have a lot of sponsorships and a lot of people that did not come out today. However, the backbone of scouting in every community, every local scouting council, is the business community. Scouting was founded by a gentleman who had no outdoor leadership, who was not a youth director at a church or a YMCA camp, but he was a businessman. He was a newspaper man. He was in the media. And he saw the value of scouting when he was traveling overseas in England, in Europe, and said, wow, we really need this program in the United States. He saw the value of the leadership. He saw the value of the patrols and the troops and what they were doing and what they were teaching young people and young men at the time. He saw that value so much that he incorporated the Boy Scouts of America. So you think about that. It was the business community. It was the business. It was the community that saw the value of leadership in young people and what this country needed to move forward to the next century. He was so committed that he committed $1,000 a month for the first 3 years of the infancy of the Boy Scouts of America so he could get started and move forward. You think about that, $1,000 a month in 1910 and how much that value is today. Well, I thank you for your Friends of Scouting gift today, your sponsorships, your individual gifts, because those dollars stay local. They help our local scouting program. They help us provide scholarships, registration assistance, help us provide programs, Camp Karankawa, and all the equipment that goes along with providing these great programs, training our volunteers, providing those Eagle Scout projects, providing all these service projects that are our community. So to our board members, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our staff. Thank you for being a part of this today. This is our first step back in the journey. I think 2021 is going to be a great year for scouting. It still kind of feels like 2020 a little bit, but you can see the light through the trees in the forest. We'll be here at the end of the year at our annual Distinguished Citizen Dinner, and I look forward to seeing everyone back in November in a huge gala and honoring John Jackson. So John's here with us today. John has accepted our invitation to be our Distinguished Citizen for 2021. I can't say enough about our Scout volunteers and our board, and John is a great example of that commitment we have. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. So with that, if you did, plenty of people made online donations prior to the event. Thank you so much for those that have made those donations. We have received some this morning. If you're filling out your pledge card, please continue to do that. We can take those right up here with our staff at those tables and with your envelope. So with that, we are done. Thank you. Have a great scouting day. Scout me in.